Why is this so hot? There we go. Good morning. Okay. So today we've got a few fun things happening. This Thursday, we have a free online webinar on Zoom. So be sure you sign up for that. That is going to be all about vows and promises, why they're important. Maybe you just need to regroup. Maybe you just need to get a little refresher of what the heck yours were, because sometimes it's really hard to actually know what they were if you got married a long time ago, or if your vows were maybe more of the usual.
I have no idea what I said to you. I blacked out.
I didn't black out.
I was drinking. You were grinding my hands into dust. Like my hands, I had to go to the hospital because she broke my fingers. You're such a liar. That's how tightly she was gripping my hands. I'm like, is she about to run away from the altar, or is she clinging to me for life? You were like, I was like, oh, man, I love you. I was so like, much.
This is what you're getting into.
I got you. I'm gonna get you. I'll never let you go. No. Anyhow, why, man?
So that's on Thursday.
Yes, but yeah, honestly, I don't remember our vows, and luckily we've been able to play the game of creating new promises and commitments. However, you know what I'm kind of sad about, if I'm going to be really honest?
What?
Not sad. That sounds brutal. No, you know what I've noticed? I'm curious if you have a different perspective. And I actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I don't know if this is true, but I'll say it anyway.
Okay.
And I'll just ask for forgiveness later with my ignorance.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of our big promises that have created, I think, very strong. What are you doing?
I just hate this stupid screen. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to share this. I'm listening. Go. I can do two things.
You can move it up there.
I can't because it screwed it up last time and turned it off. So no, you can't move it up.
One of the things I've noticed were a lot of our boundaries that we've created together to play.
No, I lost my mouse.
It's up top.
No, it's not. But I need it on my screen.
It's right there. Go down. Go down. There it is.
Okay. We just need to. That makes no sense.
Yes, it does. Guys, we have a screen. Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
So we have a screen. It's like a screen here and a screen here. And so when you move your mouse up, it goes through the first screen into the second screen. That logically makes sense.
No, because when you go down on the screen, it should come down from the top. No, it doesn't. It came from the bottom.
Watch. Whoop, 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 whoop.
No, it's on the bottom. Yeah, that's why you can't see it.
No, it doesn't. Right there. Yeah. Look. No. When you go up, it's because it's over there. See? It's because it's blocking half the screen. They don't know. The people have no idea what's happening. We need to stop this. Okay. A lot of my commitments, a lot of our boundaries we played with have actually come off the backs of something that was being kind of like, don't you ever do that again. And I think that's worthwhile. It's not bad, but I've noticed that. It's like once you know. I don't
understand. That doesn't make sense to me. That's not my experience.
Yeah, promise. Really?
No.
Promises around drinking and driving is a big one. Promises around those a lot of the big strong there's hey let's play a game together. Let's have let's play let's make a new commitment together. Let's make new promises. I think there's I don't know. I feel like there's almost a different. This is something that is worthwhile exploring. There's a different category or maybe a different weight that I feel of there's making promises and commitments to each other, and then there are there's games, and then there's deal breaker promises. Because promise me you'll never do this, because if you do, I'm out of here. Everyone has those conditions that actually break that will have the person leave the relationship physically or mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And those are the ones that are it's like the out of bounds that you don't, it's like, hey, if you foul someone, then we'll blow the whistle and then we'll keep playing. But if you do something like a red card in a soccer game, you get ejected from the game. If you do that, you're out of here. And
you have to be careful. That's not how those work.
No. Well, that's not where I think what I'm trying to say.
I'm just saying the people, they don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And so it doesn't work that
Help,
way.
help. Can I add some
I don't
color
know
to-
what you're trying to say, or I'd help you. I just wanted to say that is incorrect because you're basing something off of an if that you have control over.
We have
That is not owned.
created promises based off of boundaries that have been crossed. And when I think about a lot of the biggest, like strongest ones we have,
Right, but that's an important distinction.
Yes.
Certain things have happened where have you not gone through the experience of relationship or extraordinary relationship, you may feel like a boundary has been crossed or you've been hurt or betrayed in some way, and therefore there's no way to get back to, there's no way to fix it. And really there's nothing to fix. It's just the choice of, are we moving on? Are we creating from this space? Or am I disengaged entirely? And so, but what I'm saying for the people listening is Zach is not saying if we create a commitment together and you break it, I'm out of here. It's like, no. Like, don't be a baby. Don't think of this low level. Like, no. Don't think of it so easy. It is very much an opportunity to create something to play a game for your marriage when something hard or betrayal or something like that happens. And so what you're saying is when we've come up against maybe a condition or what we may have considered in the past a deal breaker, rather than going, oh, you did that and I'm out of here, it would actually be really unfair to the relationship because it may be something new that we uncovered in relationship that we hadn't actually come up against before. There's a lot of things you may come up against your marriage where you're like, I didn't know that this, like, okay, I don't think this has happened, but just example for the people. Had Zach have had like a child with someone else that I didn't know about and that he didn't know about. Okay, let's say he didn't know and I didn't know. If, 13 years into our marriage, it was to be like, surprise, you have a kid. Like, that is not something that we ever discussed, had a condition around or anything like that. But maybe for some people that would be like, whoa, heck no, I'm out of here. I can't believe you didn't tell me that. And you're like, heck no, I don't know what's going on. Right. So it's like you're coming up against something together versus what you were saying, which was like as if you had shared it before. And the truth is that most of those exit points had never actually been really spoken about.
That's, I suppose, what was trying to clarify is when I think about it, a lot of our clearest boundaries, I suppose that's the way it is, right? Like you don't really know you've really crossed a line until you've crossed it for the first time.
Well, and keep in mind, it's like, it's not the, people always want better communication. It's not better communication that you want. It's not good communication you want. It's actually just communicating. And so sometimes there's no opportunity to do it because you've never encountered it before.
And I would bet though, when people, what they mean, kind of like trust and confidence or trust and predictability, what they're actually saying when they say we want better communication is they want communication that is actually honoring the root meaning of what communicate is. I think they think of like, we want better communication, and what they are alluding to is not to be verbally attacked. Because like, I am communicating. No,
what people want when they say, oh, I want better communication, I want good communication, is they actually want something that's going to move the relationship forward. People go to counseling a lot or therapy a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's not what you said. No, I know I know.
Oh, okay.
So people will say, I want better communication. So they'll go to like counseling or therapy or something, but that deals with the past. It's not actually dealing with like forward, like what there is to communicate about. And what we do is we look forward and say, well, what can we unveil that is actually preventing the communication that needs to be said out loud? Because there's something in that I think happens.
Yeah, it's like you might say, oh, we communicate. It just never ends well. Like, we have no problem communicating.
Yeah, or like, I don't bring that up because it's going to start an argument. It's like, oh, well, the patterns and the repetitiveness of that argument is because is because you're bringing in the past to it. You're bringing in all the experiences and all the other conversations you have about sex or finances or whatever it is. And so it's really hard to actually feel like you're communicating because there's actually something there. There's some type of withhold something going on, SEDS, a fear standing right there that just needs to be said out loud. And the second it can unveil quite a bit.
Yes, and I'm 100% aligned with you. I'm simply taking the position of think of the average person when they hear that they might be inclined to say no. We they might get locked in still or attached to the word better because they would say we do communicate. We do communicate all the time. Like communication is not our quote unquote problem. What we mean by better is, I think what you said is like moving the conversation forward,
People always want to get somewhere,
and actually getting past a problem or the repetitive disappointment and repetitive upsets, the conversations you don't uncover. And there's so much access to there's actually access to a new view that if you had that view, you would take a different action. Yeah, so we're saying the same thing. I think I was thinking like the power of like in a way, I wonder, when does something to you become slight subject change, but when does something to you become, when would you call it a fight versus
I don't really
tension
call anything
or a disagreement or a scuffle?
I would say like an upset or argument. I don't think of fighting implies that like someone has to win.
Yeah, like we're in a fight.
And
I
don't think of relationship that way.
We're
like, why would you want to make your partner wrong? Like that to me, I don't actually understand. And this is a coming to, right? Like this is like something that I actually had to become awake to and experience and have a few realizations of myself. So as I'm telling you this, I realize it's just going to seem like me telling you something that you have to like know. You're not going to know this. It's something you really have to experience. So know that first. I feel like having unveiled a few things in our relationship and deciding that this is it, that the energy and the freedom that I have to not make you wrong all the time, and in a fight, because a fight, like if you think of like Fight Club, you think of like a cat fight, dog fight, chicken fight, there's a winner and a loser. And those animal ones, an animal dies. Like it's so to me, I'm like, why would I want to be in a relationship where one of us is going to lose? I would rather be in a relationship where we are actually a possibility for the next thing through this upset. Because more often than not, the upset is because we are trying to honor, uphold, or fulfill on the larger vows and the larger promises or commitments that we have. If you want to go camping and it's a really, really busy week and we have to do X, Y, and Z for work or with the kids or whatever, it's not you're wrong, you can't go. It's I understand you want to go. This week may be hard to do that. Let's look and create together when we can do that, when we can fit that in, when it's a very different way of collaborating together versus fighting about it and you being like, no, Sierra, you're wrong. And I'm doing this and I'm a grown up and I'm going to do this. And me being like, screw you. I'm so busy. I can't do this all on my own. Right? Like it's a different, yeah. So I don't know if it ever.
Well, what's very clear in you sharing that is that the function of that is taking front and center with fights.
Yeah.
So when it becomes a fight and someone has to win, by definition, there's a survival. What's probably likely happening in terms of our historical one specifically when we had more like the biggest upsets
Mm-hmm.
is, and funny, even we use the words like upsets now or breakdowns.
Well, but yeah,
We don't
because
use the word fight.
because they're more like breakdowns. They're more just like,
Well,
what happened?
Well, it's by definition, it's a breakdown of extraordinary relationship, because what's happening is we have fallen so deep into the individuality that there is no space. It's like there's such a protection of the survival of the individual that there's no experience of having similar stories inside of an extraordinary relationship. And I think we're more attached to our own individual point of view than to similar points of view.
You mean when you're in
when we're in a fight or a breakdown? It's
No,
like
a breakdown.
It's like when you fall. Well,
No,
still
I would
you're.
say breakdown and upset is like, okay, Zach bought a dog.
Well,
we
okay.
use a beeper for a dog trainer, and Zach, we've
Real
lost
fast.
it.
You're clarifying the difference between a breakdown versus a fight.
Yeah, because a
Okay.
fight requires a winner or a loser.
Okay, so a breakdown
An
is
upset or a breakdown does not.
an upset or a breakdown in relationship is. Okay, go on.
Okay, so we had this. We use a beeper. It's like a clicker, right? Like a dog clicker, and Zach has lost it a couple times, or it's been left out in the rain, and we've had to get a couple new ones. And I don't like using the new one that he got, but I wanted to take the dog for a long hike, and I needed the little clicker thing. So I took it out for like an hour and a half or something, and it was the very first time it was used. He just opened the box, just charged it, and I lost it. I lost it. I totally lost it. And I could have come home and we could have like had a fight about it. He could have gotten really mad at me because he just bought it. It just got out of the package. It just was charged. It was like its first time out with the dog, and I lost it. And we could have had like a fight, a winner, a loser, right? Like I could have been like, well, I don't know, you already had to buy 4 of them. Like I could have started like this fight, and you could have just like made me super wrong, gotten really pissed. And instead we came home and it wasn't a breakdown. It was more of like a togetherness upset of like, Zach,
disappointment.
I lost the dog trainer on the hike. And he was like, what? And I just got that. I just opened it. And I was like, I know. And I'm sorry. And that's what happened. And it was just like this thing, and you took care of it. He actually ended up getting it replaced for free. It was great. And right, it's just like a breakdown, an upset. We had one last Thursday. Zach was supposed to be at home at a certain time. He wasn't home at a certain time. It kind of messed up my night. It was a breakdown. It's not a fight. It's a breakdown. It's taking responsibility of, yeah, we had communication about this. This is what that is. And now we're here. And now we're moving on. It's that communication that moves something forward, as opposed to a fight, which makes a winner and a loser, and you both stake your claim. And it's really, if you have a stake here and your partner has a stake here, it's really hard to move forward.
Think of your relationship in terms of an actual game. And if you play football or soccer or baseball, it doesn't matter. Any sport you're most familiar with. I don't care. Team sport, by the way. Team sport. And
this is a team, not a team, not a team.
Yeah, not
this
like, oh, I'm on a golf team. It's like, no, it's an individual sport that you're collecting. It's different. A team sport where more than 2 people are interacting on the field together. In football, if you run a route and I think you're going to go somewhere and then you don't, and the ball gets intercepted, there's upset. There's like, why did you run that way? I threw it there and you went there. Like, what's going on? And the next available question is, that sucks. Like, you kind of feel, okay, well, I guess I did. I probably shouldn't have thrown it without confirming you were there. And you probably shouldn't have ran that route because it was the wrong route. But it sounds like the crowd was too loud. You didn't hear, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. There was a breakdown. The question is, okay, 3rd down, let's play again. That is a difference in a breakdown. A fight is when you're more committed to almost like killing off the other person's point of view for the survival of your own.
Yeah, I mean,
that's I would say that's a good distinction.
Yeah,
maybe between
I mean, look at even like, you could watch a show like Ted Lasso or watch any team. If there are players that are all of a sudden not on the same team, but they're like on the same team, but like they're arguing and not on the same team, what happens? Like the whole team loses. The whole team loses. And even though you may both want the same thing, it's like, no. Like there's no possibility there. So we really value language here. Like language, you're making the whole table
well,
shake.
I want to
you're
write.
using it
I have some like great
So
notes.
you got to use language that actually demonstrates. So if you're in a place in your relationship where you feel like, oh man, I think we have more fights than we do have like breakdowns or arguments, you know, or maybe you want less breakdowns, less upsets, like hop into the free webinar on Thursday. That is like what we really look at. And when we say, you know, we really work with couples who are really hurting or really in a hard place, we mean that, because we just had a room full of people that were having conversations that they typically are not able to have otherwise. And it was conversations that had no weight. That weight disappears. It's like gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you just realize it is what it is. And then there's also couples who maybe they actually, well, we had a couple in there who they were taking it as reviewing the workshop, reviewing the course. And what's amazing is you realize like the layers that get unveiled and the less and less breakdowns you have, and the more understanding, the more you're kind of functioning in this space versus this space and that space, what possibility you have, and the type of language that gets switched, even just in your speaking of it, is really cool.
Yes.
So
I think of it as like a, almost like a hierarchy of needs kind of concept when it comes to commitments and promises, and when a breakdown happens when you're playing the game of relationship, is you have like the core promise, right? And that's kind of like what's that main promise? It's like till death do you part, right? That's like the base, right? You are in this till you die. Like that is a powerful commitment, right? And then you go up from that. But the challenge is there's certain things you can clarify as you go up, and there are devils in the details, quite literally, in terms of your commitments and promises. So when you think about where breakdowns happen and communication errors happen, it's usually the more granular details, because life has variables. And if Sierra says, be here by 8 a.m. and how many times do we justify breaking a commitment to somebody because something like maybe my child throws up, and then I don't even think about showing up on time because the child is number one. But the problem is we don't really share a lot of our conditions of what might have us put that promise on the back burner. And that can be small things. So for us, when I was home late, it's like that as well. It's like, hey, will you do this? Yes. But then there's a bunch of other like intricate possibilities that if those possibilities take place, then that changes the game, and they're left uncommunicated completely. And I think that's where a lot of like it's like there's power in reinforcing these scenarios, especially when you're playing a game of being somewhere at a certain time with one car for us.
Well, don't blame it on the obstacles. You made the.
But no, it was lack of communication, because things were happening. It was not. It was a lack of.
No, it
fight.
Was a forgetful moment.
It was. I did forget.
Yeah, it was.
I did forget. I did forget.
It was 6 o'clock, and you thought 7 o'clock, even though you agreed and said out of your mouth 6.
Let's just get along.
Yeah. So but it's the ownership of the breakdown of like where. Of how it happened and where it started. And that's sometimes where the frustration is, right? It's like, even just in speaking, you're like, oh, I want to be right about this, but the ownership piece about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as I think back, I'm like, okay, there's a memory lapse there, but
the response of, well, I'm sitting down and now I'm gonna eat dinner and I'm gonna take my time, and it was like, that's what
right?
I'm. The reaction was the response. It was
that's
like,
what I'm referring
your ownership
to.
Went poof.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Is like there was like another condition that like it's almost like I was thinking, well yeah, what's the, like, of course that's going to be number one, and you're like, no, that's not okay. So it's like the lack of communication of those situations. But I think back on that, I'm like, okay, well, how did I what occurred for me, because I think it's very easy. Memory is like knowing how powerful memory is in terms of how you function in the world, because that's the story you live into. That is, it could be, that's a nefarious little beast in your relationship. Because if you can always claim, if you anytime it happens, if you can claim, oh, I just forgot, it allows you to almost like avoid a lot of responsibility. It
Well,
doesn't.
yeah, and
It
that's
doesn't avoid.
annoying for
Doesn't
a
it does
partner.
it doesn't avoid upset. It doesn't avoid upset and breakdown and disappointment and major problems. Um, but you can like notice how it lets you off the hook.
I forgot does not let you off the hook. No, it does
Yeah.
not.
No. The individual. It's like the
I forgot doesn't
pain.
let you off the hook because you still have to take ownership
Yes.
over your forgetfulness.
Yes.
That is a
Yes.
that is a ownership radical responsibility taking thing.
Yes. Yes.
That is not
Yes.
a.
And I struggle with that.
No.
With that.
No
No,
kidding.
what?
No kidding.
Yeah. It's hard because it's like I want to take ownership, but then because you don't remember, it's like, but did it really happen? But
What?
it did. I trust you. It did.
No, but where I think where the upset was the underlying larger picture, which was impacting my training and how I felt and what I needed to get done. And we agreed at the beginning of the year certain priorities of what was taking priority as a household and as a relationship.
You're out of the camera.
And it was that.
Yeah. Correct.
It was that.
Correct.
So it didn't matter the details. It was actually, oh no, you threw that out the window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the disregard of another
a higher
commitment.
Yeah, of a higher commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, I say it that way,
And I know you didn't forget that one, so you can't rely on I forgot.
Oh, I forgot our higher priorities.
I forgot our higher priorities. It's like, no, that's not gonna fly.
It gets you through a lot when you're clear on what those higher priorities are, because when you run into these situations of memory, I mean, because we live in a busy culture. Mm-hmm. I think it's understandable. And
we're trained to forget, right?
It's
we have beeps, we have alarms, we have like we're trained to not have to remember things.
Correct. And pretty soon we'll be, side tangent on AI, but pretty soon that muscle is not getting any stronger. So I think it takes a lot of deliberate intentionality to play that game of honoring your promises and commitments, and that it gets you through a lot. Well, and when variables come up like personal snafus of memory, you have to have something to fall back on.
Right. And I think the reason that we were able to move forward was because when I brought that up, what our like higher level priorities were, what our commitments were for the year and everything, is that it was easier for you to see like, oh, like, because in the moment he was like, why is she so upset about this? This is dumb. And so, but I think you were able to see like, oh, like this wasn't just
a one day thing.
This wasn't just because I was late. This was actually because it trickled and had an impact literally for 3 days, because it like impacted my body. So it literally had like this overflow, and you understood like, oh, that's the higher commitment. Oh, that's why, like, we were able to like move through that quicker. Which if you only thought that I was mad because you were late, that probably would have been much more annoying. You wouldn't have really gotten why I was upset.
Specifically, if you weren't training for a massive physical event like climbing the elevation of Mount Everest, and if it was just like, I'd like to go to this class on a Thursday, and that was it, like just go to the gym anyway. Like if it was all that was like, it'd be nice to work out today, I would have had a hard time honoring or having a lot of sympathy. So it's like, no, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it worked out.
Yeah, like you just walk the dog when I get home.
Yeah. So it's important to have, it gets you through a lot to be able to fall back on something, and that's what Thursday will do. Is it will give you clarity on much of the qualities you're after in your relationship, the things that you find most desirable, like trust, affection, respect, affinity, mutual admiration, shared interest, hobbies, a bunch of things that are shared spiritual, religious, political views, family values, a lot of those things that are kind of in the background and kind of your experience.
They may create an experience or a context for your relationship,
Yeah,
but they aren't your relationship.
They aren't your relationship, and they're also not the foundation that your very relationship actually is built on top of. And you're gonna have the opportunity to get clear on that and play. You'll have the opportunity to actually work with your partner and design something that's very much worth playing, and you'll have some insights on some of the things, some of the pitfalls that undermine those.
And I think something that's really important to hear, and maybe you heard it just in our speaking, is I keep saying a commitment we made for this year. Right? We have like really big promises. We have really big vows, like till death do us part when we get married, right? And in between that time, you can still have these vows and these covenants with each other that are a shorter period of time, right? So what we've been talking about is just a commitment that we only have for a year. Like it's not like a never-ending commitment. It's every single year we go and we talk and we just say, okay, like what's this year look like? A year. So you can be on the call on Thursday and be like, I feel like we're doing great. It's like, great. How strong is that foundation just for a year? Because if you know something is only going to last a year, you can play full out for that year and then reevaluate. Like, what if we play full out for this year and then reevaluate and we're like, you know what? Maybe next year we can both do it. Or maybe next year Zach could do it. Maybe next year we want to, Zach wants to take on something or whatever it is. And so you can really play full out for that period of time, knowing when it gets hard, it's not going to be forever. Because I think that's the hardest thing when people get into a relationship, when they start a health journey, you're really in this short period. You're really in a blip. And if you don't identify it as just a blip, it feels like this is going to be forever when it gets hard. And so you can see how in relationship that can actually really cause some challenges, because you can be having, like, we call them the dark days, which lasted years. Like, I think people think like, oh, it was probably just like a day. No, this was years. And then like a few months. And like, it was a long time. It's not just like these little short episodes of upsetness. Like, that's not what those are. So, but when you're in those times, when you're in the desert, it feels like forever. So when you've identified vows and promises that have these limits, that have these year, 5 year, 2 months, 1 week, whatever it is, it's much easier to actually just take that step and go forward a little bit. So Thursday we'll be able to chat about that a little bit more.
Look we just came in here just with no topic and boom.
Rocked. Well, I think we do have a topic because we're talking a lot about it on Thursday.
Yeah, we do have a topic. But what you're seeing is relationship just in unfolding like in real time.
Yeah, because this is the other thing too. So we do our work with Be Intact and teaching relationship by design workshops and those things and coaching and webinars and whatnot. We also are part of a community called Couples Coaching Couples. And that's a community where we actually just take it a quarter at a time. So we take it 3 months at a time. And we're doing it in community with other couples. And so that is a lot of fun, because I think there's been a lot of things that we have been held up to because we're in relationship with other people, checking in and doing that.
Yeah, I think sometimes I think it's just kind of like remarkable to think about the amount of things we're in. But I also think, like, I don't know if our relationship could have survived without it.
It wouldn't have. We'd be gone.
Maybe
this live would not exist.
Maybe you're just next level. Like, I think sometimes I see couples and I go, well, I mean, you never really know every individual couple story, but I could say fairly confidently that we are fireworks they're really exciting and pretty, but they also blow up.
We are incredibly ordinary people.
Yeah. yeah, we run hot, and then and that comes with a lot of things, and most are like this. And it's worthwhile to engage in something that's really worthwhile playing. But also, I think I say this on the individual basis, but I think yeah, I got like a fear of mine would be able to, like, we're like old and we can barely move our bodies, and then we're like, I wonder if we ever did I wonder if we ever tried this. Like, it's like a biggest regret is like never did to like have the opportunity to see our future couple and have that couple be unrecognizable to us. And I feel that same way about myself of like, I wonder what that fully expressed version of myself is. I don't want that person to be a stranger to me.
I feel like, wait, you want them to be, or you don't want them
I don't want them to be a stranger to me. Like, I don't want myself to be a stranger. Like, I don't want the best version of myself to be unrecognizable
from where you are right now.
No, from when I die. Like, when I'm close to dying, and if I had the opportunity to meet my most optimal self, had I lived like in a parallel universe of that perfect self.
Oh, okay. I think you said your past self, so that was confusing.
I'm sorry.
Like, I was like,
the best version of Zach at 80 versus whatever Zach I am at 80.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that best version of Zach to be like, who the hell are you?
Right.
Like, I don't even know who you are. Versus like, almost, like, almost got you. That's like my dream, and I feel the same way about our couple too.
Yeah, I feel like behind closed doors, I feel like we were probably unrecognizable right now than when we got married.
Like our sex life? What do you mean closed doors?
I mean, like, not in public with like other people, but also our sex life, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's better. That's better. Flag.
Also better. You're like, it is better. Really?
Flag for inappropriate content. Sexually explicit.
But yeah, I feel like
yeah,
if I was to look at like year 3 of being married to now.
Oh yeah.
Or year 6 or something.
We also
to now.
Yeah. We also look better too. I think we do. Notice how I said we.
I did. Also, yeah, for whatever reason, there was like this when we went on our honeymoon. I don't even know why. In all of our pictures, we look like empty nesters who just sent their kids off to college.
What do you mean?
I don't know if it's like style or we were just nasty and always swollen because we were drinking all the time or something.
Yeah, we were drinking all the time. We were drinking and having
so
cake.
Rough.
We ate a lot of cake. No, we actually did have a lot of cake. We'd have wine and chocolate.
We'd have
cake.
A bottle of wine and chocolate cake every time we went to the grocery store.
And or I would come home after happy hour at work, and because I wanted to like drink more but act like I wasn't, I was like, hey, dude, let's pick up a bottle of wine. AKA I wanted to keep drinking. I would be like, like, oh sure, and I grab a bottle of wine and a
Little Caesars,
and a cake. It's not a cake, but like
dinner of champions in your 20s.
Wine, pizza, chocolate cake.
Hey, we did a half Ironman on that diet.
Hey, we're not shaming. We're not shaming. It was a temporary, wonderful.
That is prime
dopamine rush.
That's prime half Ironman nutrition right there.
But we definitely paid. There are consequences.
We paid the price.
There are consequences.
We paid the price. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I look.
You
at
mean our style was
like,
kind of frumpy?
Frumpy, but like we just looked older than we do now. I feel like, aside from my white hair and Zach's bald head, I feel like we actually look older in our 20s than we did now. For real.
I think so too.
Well, go us, I guess. I don't know.
I think so too.
Like, ew, gross.
Well,
like, people are like, oh, I wish I could. What did you say? To be like, oh man, Sarah, you should try on your wedding dress or something. I wonder if it would still fit or something like that. And I was like, God, I hope not.
No, you should be like, well, I do need a sleeping bag next time I go. next time I go camping.
Oh my gosh, seriously.
You should try it. Where is it? That's upstairs. That's up in the attic. You should try it on. My tux is probably like baggy.
That was also more stylistically a thing, I think, too. Like now they're more like
Guys,
tight.
you think we got married like in 1994?
You really would. We practically
Some
did.
of our style. No, what's funny is like I didn't realize how much of a 90s influence the first 2000 to 2010 had. Like
Yeah.
year 2000 to 2010
Mm-hmm.
had still a very strong
90s.
aftertaste of 90s.
Yeah, a little baggy.
And I didn't really realize that.
Yeah.
Until I was like looking back on it, like how much style has changed in the last like 10 years even. It's kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And now everything's coming back.
you know.
Jinko jeans, cargo pants.
I think I want to like get like I want to be the cool dad with a big chain hanging from his like.
Oh yeah, those are coming back too. The chain wallets.
Oh gosh.
No, those are for real. They sell them now with chains on them.
Hey, identity thefts, affects millions every year. So maybe we do need that.
Yeah.
All right. You can tell we're out of time.
Okay.
Much love, everybody.
Have a great.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Monday.